See, I see a lot of cold calling mistakes out there. I see a lot of people make the same mistakes time and time again. But these three here that I'm going to cover are some of the biggest ones that I see time and time again, and that I've personally made as well, and I've overcame them to start booking a hell of a lot of meetings with cold calling. So let me run through these. Number one is tonality. So you've probably heard this before, but it's so true. Like, cold calling is literally 50% what you say and 50% how you say it, because the prospect only has two things to go off when you're calling them for the first time. It's like, what is this person actually saying and how are they sounding to me? And how they're sounding to me isn't just the words you're saying, it's also the way you're saying the words. It's the way you're putting inflections on certain words, the way you're dragging words out, the speed at which you're speaking, all those different things, and they only have two things to go off. So you can't sound like an uninterested moron, or the prospect is never ever going to give you another 30 minutes on the phone, because they're deciding in the period of time that you speak to them. So let's say you're speaking to them, I don't know, like your pitch, from the whole time that you have your opener, then you have your value statement, your pitch. Let's say that time period is 30 seconds. If you're boring them out of their mind in that 30 seconds, then why the hell would they give you another 30 minutes of their time on a Zoom call? They just are not going to do it. So you need to actually sound engaging, and you want to sound confident and enthusiastic. But the last thing you want to do is come across as too salesy. So you don't want to sound like, oh, hey, it's Michael here calling from XYZ Leads. How are you doing today? Like, you just don't want to sound like that. Like, it's like you're going to put them off completely, and you need to sound authentic whilst still remaining confident and enthusiastic. So the main three things to avoid here are just monotone delivery. So on the other side of the extremely salesy guy, you've got the guy that's like, oh, hey, yeah, I can book you 2 appointments in 3 weeks. Like, no one wants to listen to that. So monotone delivery, and then speaking too fast. I'm not going to do an example for that. And then you've got lack of variation, and that's mainly lack of variation in your tonality. Obviously, that's why we're covering tonality, but that's like lack of variation. So just speaking at one pitch. So you can still like solve the problem of being monotone, but instead of having a monotone voice, you can speak at like a different level of pitch, but then still stay at that same level of pitch. So it's not about just not being monotone, it's about having variation in the way you're speaking, different lengths, different inflections, and not speaking too fast as well. So that's tonality. The next one is perceiving cold calling negatively. And this is probably the biggest thing, because I mean, like, cold calling can benefit pretty much every single B2B business if done correctly. And the only reason that you wouldn't do it in the first place is probably because you have limiting or poor beliefs around it, which prohibit you from doing it in the first place. So the reason why the average person is prohibited by doing it in the first place is because they perceive it as the scariest thing imaginable. Like, to them, there's genuinely nothing worse than picking up the phone, calling someone and trying to sell them their service or their product. And that's because of the associations they have with cold calling. So they're used to giving people the most negative responses known to man when they get cold called. So why the hell would they want to cold call people? Because the only thing they know in their brain is, if I cold call someone, they're going to react how I've reacted previously. And even if you've not reacted negatively previously, you're still going to see it in a negative light, because it's like the people that have cold called you have never actually given you anything you want. They've never actually offered you anything of interest. But the thing is, we're not shitty insurance agents asking random people if they've had a car crash within the last 5 years. Like, no one cares about that. No one wants to hear that. We're actually speaking to business owners with an offer that can genuinely help them. And that is a key thing to perceive it as. Like, you're actually helping these people. Like, you have a service that can help them. So why not give it to them? Like, you're doing them a favor by picking up the phone and calling them. So I've only ever had 2 negative reactions, and I've made about 9,000 dials. And both times were before I'd even said my script. So it's like a click whir response, and they're just being like extremely negative towards it. Like, I've probably had more, but these are like major negative reactions where they've like gone in on me and like, okay, like just like fucking destroyed everything that I've stood for. I'm talking about like proper negative reactions. When using the right approach though, and like if you actually have a script, you actually have an offer that can help the prospect, you're actually leading with the intention of helping them. Like, you're going to have so many positive experiences in the form of just like people saying they like the script, people saying they like your approach, people booking meetings with you. It's going to vastly outweigh the negative. So it's going to be so much easier for you to create a feedback loop, which makes it even more favorable to cold call. And it's just going to become easier and easier because you're going to see it in a more positive light every single time you get a new positive experience from cold calling. So you've just got to do enough reps, and it's going to come so much easier because you're just going to associate it more positively over time. Again, like you're literally picking up the phone and calling someone, and like you're taking about 30 seconds out of your day and their day, and they probably live about 1,000 miles away. So why would you ever be scared about it? Like, or perceiving it as negative is one thing, but perceiving it as scary is something else. And like the way I get around this is just by using these frames. So it's like, again, like you're speaking to these people for about 30 seconds. They live about 1,000 miles away. You can perceive them as NPCs, like they're almost not real people. And like, I don't mean that in the sense that there's a bunch of bots just walking around the street, which there is pretty much. But it's like, these people are like, they're not real to you because you'll never see them, you'll never meet them. They're just a voice thousands of miles away. So you can't perceive them as NPCs. Like they're gonna forget about you the second the call ends anyway. And this is so true. Like it's actually selfish for you to think they care enough for you to be scared. So like the mere fact that you're scared about cold calling is because you think that they care about, they think that you think that they're associating all this importance with your call. Like they don't care. They don't give a shit. So just pick up the phone, call them, and stop being selfish and realize that they're gonna speak to you for 30 seconds and then forget completely about it. So don't take rejections personally. They're rejecting your offer and not you. Like they're not attacking you as a person. Like maybe in these extremely rare negative reactions they are, but again, they don't even know anything about you. So how can it truly affect you personally? It just can't if you're looking at it in the right mindset. The next mistake is not using a power dialer. And this is essential. Like I haven't really talked about this much before, but if you want to make cold calling a chore and make it one of the most tedious and boring things on earth, like I personally still find it fun, but a lot of people might find it extremely boring and drive themselves to the point of insanity if they're manually entering the number on their phone every time they're looking at the screen. Ring, ring. Like it's just so boring. It's so boring. So either you're copying and pasting numbers into Skype on your computer, or what you're doing is you're using a power dialer, and that's something that I'd recommend like hugely. It's gonna make you cold call 10 times faster. Like it's going to become so much more enjoyable because you can actually enter a state where you feel like you're getting into the flow of things. You're ringing, no response, you're ringing, you're calling, you're booking a meeting. You get into a flow of things. You can do things very quickly and on autopilot. And you can also get feedback 10 times faster. So you can improve 10 times faster because you're getting so much more data. Because in an hour window, you're probably speaking to like 30 people rather than 5 people, like if you would just manually entering the number and taking up so much more time. So you can blast music, you can have a great time, you can actually make it fun. And power dialers not only make things quicker, more efficient, but you can also make tracking a lot easier with them. Voicemail drops are a lot easier, and then logging the outcome of the calls, and then other manual tasks, like it just becomes so much easier with the right software. 2 ones I'd recommend: Go High Level, I've used that, it's very good, and Close.com. Again, like both of them are really good. Close.com, I'd probably use like, I'd say whatever your CRM is on, and like whatever you're actually tracking leads with, I'd say use whatever one of those. So a lot of like SMMA agencies are using Go High Level already. So there's a really simple YouTube tutorial on how to set up a power dialer. I'll link it in the description. You can just watch that. It's really, really simple. And those are the 2 I'd recommend. So that's everything for the video. If you want more information about what we do, you can check the description. There's some info in there. And I hope you enjoyed this video and have a good rest of your day.